This isn't a good one. The gang's all here. Oh no! Not you, Michael! Who could have guessed? Wow. It's from the Justice Department right here. What?
So Asmongold got tricked by the fake photo, which is understandable. But we're about to break this down because this photo is actually not what it appears to be.
What a twist. I don't think this surprised anybody, really. Also, it's very hard to know, like, why this is happening, what the context is of it. This is just one photo. I don't know who this person is, who has any idea, right? I mean, all three of these people could have had no idea who this is. It's obviously Oprah, Michael Jackson, and Bill Clinton. Like,
It's actually not Oprah, Michael Jackson, and Bill Clinton.
The government is doing such a good job distracting you guys with this Michael Jackson photo, but I don't think they were betting on me having the alt take of that exact moment. Here's the photo without the black boxes. Those aren't victims. Those are his kids. Those are his two kids and Diana Ross's son. This photo is completely unrelated to the Epstein files, and it is serving as a distraction. Of course, they got ever so lucky that the Jeffrey Epstein dude who takes photos with everyone, because he's a Hollywood creep, and I have a story for you later because I have a personal story. And he does take photos with everyone.
That's Jay Bunzie on Instagram, JBUNZIE, if you want to watch that full reel and get the whole story there. But let's continue.
Y'all know this. So, yeah, who knows? Why does he look uncomfortable? I wonder why. And yeah, I have always been, like, I've been a huge fan of Michael Jackson my whole life, and I am still reserving whatever delusional hope that I have that he actually wasn't a weirdo, right?
Well, Asmon, I've got a video for you because Michael Jackson was framed, and I'm going to lay out the evidence, and it connects to Diddy, and it's crazy. But just a minute, let's hear your whole piece here.
And so, yeah. It's not Oprah. It's not Oprah. Damn, it looked just like Oprah to me. And I guess maybe I just kind of assumed it was her. I didn't really look too close.
Yeah, you got to be careful of who you assume is who here.
Well, maybe it's not. I mean, who the fuck, Diana Ross? I guess. So yeah, wow, crazy photo to have. What a fucking reveal. Here's another good one. Yeah, we'll go through these. Okay, don't worry about it. What the fuck? If this was here, then how did you not know that they don't exist? Exactly. Like this is.
Oh, they knew. Oh, they knew all about it. They knew everything that they had. They knew it was all there.
So, I don't know. Let me go back, look at the next one. Man. Not a good day to be a Michael Jackson fan, huh?
No, I got you, bro. Today's a good day to be a Michael Jackson fan. So, do you know the story of Michael Jackson's will? How it got rewritten right around the time of his death, and how his siblings actually insisted that it was fake. They went to court over it for a long time. His siblings all claimed that the will was fake, signed in 2002. This new will appeared right before his death, apparently, and it cut his whole family out of his estate. A little weird. Many of the misgivings stem from the will's final page, which bears the signatures of 3 witnesses who claim Jackson signed the document on July 7, 2002 in Los Angeles. But Jackson's family points out that the singer was in New York on that day, a point the Reverend Al Sharpton recently bolstered by showing video of the Thriller singer appearing with him at an event in Harlem that day. Weird. And instead, this will suddenly gave everything to John Branca, who Michael Jackson had fired and had had many choice words for, because John Branca was part of this tribe that kept on coming after Michael. And when you start digging into all the accusers of Michael Jackson, all of them were struggling stars that were just hitting their big break in Hollywood and the music industry right as they made these accusations. Almost like, perhaps, allegedly, maybe they were being rewarded for their good behavior by getting good gigs all of a sudden, finally. But the FBI investigated Michael Jackson for 10 full years. There's a whole Wikipedia page about it. The FBI files on Michael Jackson. You can go read about it. And it contains 44 pages about the forensic analysis of Jackson's computers and drives. And they have a detailed list of all of his hard drives that were seized and examined. You know, hundreds of gigabytes of data on those drives. And they're all labeled here, QLA1, QLA2, QLAI3, QLAI or 14, whatever they say there. And then it shows you the pages. Nothing. All of the pages say nothing. They found nothing suspicious on any of his drives. Despite spending 10 years investigating him, they found no evidence of any sort of illicit acts with minors. And in fact, all of his closest friends and all of the minors that he was friends with, because let's be real, he was weird. Like he was a little child, stunted. He had his whole, he had a whole complex. But the question of was he abusing minors? When you really dig into it, the evidence is a strong no. And the attacks against him ramped up, first from slander like Wacko Jacko, which is literally reference to an old monkey doll from I think the 1900s, 1800s. And then it moved on to other media attacks. And then when that wasn't enough, it moved on to these sorts of allegations about, stuff with minors. And it went on and on and on for years. But Michael Jackson kept on fighting, and he kept on buying up the rights to his own music and then to other people's music. And eventually it was maybe a little too much. But Michael Jackson had been protected his whole lifetime by his head of security, Bill Bray, who was like a father to Michael, the father that Michael never had. And they were extremely close. Bill watched Michael through all of his formative years, looked after him his entire career, until eventually Bill got so old that he had to retire. And this is a handwritten note from Michael Jackson to Bill. And it's kind of intense to read. Bill, it's been a long, long road. We have traveled throughout the years, concert tours, meeting dignitaries, kings and queens of countries, touring around the world twice, making people happy through the gift and love of music. I'm coming of age now and really recognize the importance of true love. Joseph never even had time for me. He only saw me as a way for him to make money. And as you know, Mother was a perfect mother, but I never was with her. My childhood was on stage, away from Mother. What I'm simply trying to say is, thank you for being a father. I don't know what would have happened to me if you were not around. I love you, MJ. So, he wrote that note to Bill when Bill had to retire. And then Michael Jackson started moving through other security teams. He had to hire other security. And just a few years later, he wound up with this guy as his head of security. This guy's name is Fahim Muhammad. And if you don't know, Fahim Muhammad was second on the scene of Michael Jackson's death. Second in the room, only after MJ's doctor. When he was OD'd on substances that he may or may not have administered himself. And Fahim Muhammad shows up. He told the whole story on the stand. But where else have we seen Fahim Muhammad before? You've seen Fahim Muhammad in the Diddy files. Because right after Fahim Muhammad was the head of security during Michael Jackson's mysterious death, he was hired by Diddy to run Diddy's whole operation as Diddy's head of security. Isn't that weird that Fahim Muhammad goes from being the head of security for the King of Pop to the head of security for this gigantic trafficking drug party freak off ring that Diddy was hosting? I mean, you have to imagine that if you're head of security for Diddy's operation, you'd have to know where all the illicit shit is moving, going, happening, etc. Right? But it gets weirder. Because when you look into Fahim Muhammad's background, you find out that in 2008, Fahim graduated from Sacramento State University with a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration with a concentration in real estate and marketing. A natural businessman, after college, he founded Elite Transportation and Security Services, LLC. But the very next year, he became security for Michael Jackson. By Michael Jackson's death in 2009, Fahim Muhammad was the head of security for Michael Jackson. And then he, jumped over to work with Mr. Sean Combs. So how did he go from graduating with a business and marketing degree to being qualified to be the head of security for the King of Pop in 1 year. And then the King of Pop mysteriously dies on his watch. He's second on the scene. And then he goes and works for Diddy as head of security for Diddy's whole operation. There's all sorts of other stuff when you look into his real estate company and all the acres of land that he gifted to his 13-year-old son right on the border, the U.S.-Mexico border. Yeah, there's a whole storyline behind Fahim Muhammad. But let's safe to say that Michael Jackson, he didn't do what they say he did. And these photos from the Epstein files, they are red herrings. Because Michael Jackson was the exact kind of person that Jeffrey Epstein would have tried to target. But when you actually read through all the documents and all of the court cases and all the victim testimony, you find out that court documents from the Epstein files confirm Michael Jackson visited Jeffrey Epstein's Palm Beach mansion. However, the key witness, Joanna Schoberg, who's one of the key witnesses in a lot of this because she's one of the ones that testified the most and the most directly about people, she explicitly testified that she did not give him a massage and alleged no wrongdoing. Everything from victims about Michael Jackson in the files says that he was kind and didn't do anything wrong. So, this photo sure has done its job. It sure has played the red herring game that it was supposed to play. But let's see what else we got here.
I mean, again, it's not... There's no guarantee, there's no certainty that this for sure means that he's some bad actor. But man, it's kind of weird that you've got photos next to a pedophile, right? I mean, damn. And so I don't know what to say. Is this clearly fake? Say it's fake. Yeah, I mean, like, there's points on a graph, and they draw a line that's not favorable.
Jeffrey Epstein had photos with everybody.
Just passed out? Okay, great. So, yeah, next, let's move on. All right, this is all blocked out. What a surprise. I don't know who the fuck this guy is. I guess this is maybe some kind of fucking, you know, I don't know. It's just like a primitive culture or something like that. I don't know.
This is why these files are so interesting, because actually there's a ton of rabbit holes in places you would never expect. You would never expect. And obviously, Asman, you wouldn't know who this guy is. There's no reason for Asman to know who this guy is. I'm not ragging on Asman for his lack of knowledge here. Asman's the shit. He's hilarious. And I love that Asman is getting this story out to millions of people. He's getting this story in front of the eyes of people that wouldn't normally be paying attention. Huge shout out for that. But let's dive a little deeper, shall we? Let's go a little deeper. Because this guy, if you dig around a little bit, you'll find out that he is this guy right there. And his name is Daniel Hillis. And if you notice in this photo, who else is in that photo? Steven Pinker, Jeff Bezos, John Brockman, Katinka Matson, Daniel C. Dennett, Richard Dawkins, and Daniel Hillis. Where is this photo taken? At the Edge conferences. Closely tied to the TED conferences, I think. I need to dig deeper into that. Into where TED came from and what was the connection between Edge and TED. These sort of elite circles of heavy-duty thinkers. Because Jeffrey Epstein's been attending the Edge conferences for ages. This is all the way back in 1999. Oh, and there's Joichi Ito right there, his good buddy from MIT. The Billionaires' Dinners from the Edge conferences. 1999. There's Jeffrey right there in the corner. The Edge Billionaires Dinners, they have a website. You can go and look through all their photos. It's crazy. These are the bread and butter of Jeffrey Epstein's operation behind the scenes, of his influence operation. He wasn't just doing the pedophile stuff. He was also doing influence operations with scientists, mathematicians, physicists, everything. And the story goes on over the years. You can find Danny Hillis attending lots of these conferences, as well as all sorts of other people. And you start to find a lot of Jeffrey Epstein's friends at these dinners. 2005, Danny Hillis with Craig Venter, John Brockman, and Sergey Brin. Anne Wojcicki, if you remember the story about Anne Wojcicki. And recently, in the Epstein files, included were a bunch of photos from the Edge Billionaires Dinner 2011, which Jeffrey Epstein attended. And we got them in high definition. People like Elon Musk, Sergey Brin. And the reason why Jeffrey Epstein attended so many of these dinners is because he funded them. He was a member and he gave them a fuckload of money. Many of the Edge Foundation's affiliates are friends of Jeffrey Epstein, and he has chosen to support the work of a number of Edge members through the Jeffrey Epstein Foundation. So he trolled for potential. He was, a suitor. He was a potential donor, a potential funder, and they all courted him, hoping for grant money. Because what do scientists rely on? They rely on grant money. And so hidden in this silly little photo is actually a much larger rabbit hole into Jeffrey Epstein's scientific operations. And you start to wonder, Danny Hillis, how much travel did you do with Jeffrey Epstein? How many photos do you appear in Jeffrey Epstein's archives? What skeletons are in that closet? And the answer might be none. Maybe Danny Hillis is just a scientist that wanted funding and enjoyed the company and intellectual conversation of a man like Jeffrey Epstein and his other intelligent friends. Possible. But it's hard to imagine you were traveling with the man and didn't notice all the harem of young girls, all the weird photos in his houses, etc. And it begs the question of, was there more? And this is the story of just about everyone that appears in the photos of Jeffrey Epstein is, were you turning just a blind eye to the weirdness? Or was there more? Only time will tell. But in time, I think a lot will be told. Because the files are coming out. People are still curious. People are still asking questions. The story's not going away. It's not a Democrat hoax. Sorry, Trump. And I've been working on a side project that I'm going to announce soon that we're going to give away for free. That's going to make it much easier for regular citizens to dig through all of these files because they're purposely releasing them in ways that make them impossible to access, impossible to understand, impossible to see through all of them, except for, these redacted photos. But in those documents, there are stories. And in those stories, there are victims and there are perpetrators and there are crimes. And it's long past time that we had justice for the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for asking questions, for not letting criminals off the hook, not letting corruption go, not falling into the trap of the tribalist partisan politics, and instead holding values and America first. Fuck all the rest of them.
Conspiracy theories are entering a dangerous...
Information is the oxygen of the democracy.
There's so much evidence out there that even if less than 1% is true, that